You're listening to The Bible Guys, a podcast where a couple of friends talk about the Bible in fun and practical ways.
Hey everybody, welcome to The Bible Guys.
I'm Kyle, and this is Chris.
Yes, and today we are your Bible Guys because Jeff is out of town across the world doing great work with the Timothy Initiative, and which you can Google and learn about. But today we're actually in the third day of the second week of a series, a brand new series that we're talking about dangerous prayers. And today's actually the theme of this week is surrender, prayers of surrender. Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's been great.
Yeah, it's been great. And then, so today, before we get into that, we have a brand new segment, and this is pretty crazy. I don't think I've ever done this segment.
I like this.
Desiree is coming up with new ideas all the time, and this one's called Advice Booth.
Okay. So yeah, what we're going to do here is we're each going to give each other advice on a topic, and then we're going to let the listeners vote. So I'm assuming that's going to be through YouTube, correct? If you're watching on YouTube, or even if you're listening on Spotify. Or
who knows if anybody will do it, Kyle.
Oh, I bet they will.
But I hope you take just a second and respond to us, because we love seeing feedback.
Yeah.
And
I know you do too. I read the comments. I love seeing this stuff. So this will be a chance to get people's responses.
Do you know that I actually don't read the comments?
You don't?
No.
Dude, they always talk about
I don't even have it on my phone.
YouTube?
I listen, since I've done this is the episode 773, and then HC Daily, we did 150 episodes. So we've done like 1,000 episodes, and I don't think I've ever once read a single comment.
Oh, okay. Well, they're usually pretty favorable. I like you a lot.
Well, that's cool, but I probably need to. I probably should. But Jeff reads a lot. Yeah. And so he
tells you all the highlights.
He tells me. Maybe that's what it is. I'm spoiled.
Yes. All right. So now for this, you guys comment, let us know who you think gave the better advice.
Okay.
So advice booth. Here's the first one. How do you stop hitting snooze in the morning? Give people some advice, Chris.
Well, I don't know how you do it, but if that was my goal, if my goal is to not hit snooze, then my life hack is I would take whatever the alarm is, and I would put it far from the bed. That forced me to get out of the bed.
Yeah, that was...
But is that what you're going to say?
See, we didn't talk about this beforehand, and so I was worried we were going to steal each other's ideas.
Hey, but that is the... I mean, isn't that the best one?
Yes.
Which
Force
shows
yourself to get up.
Which shows that you and I are both intelligent people.
Yes, exactly.
So you put it way across the room, so you literally have to get up.
Yes.
And so it's like that way you're not going to hit snooze at all.
Yes.
And that's only if you have a problem with snooze.
Yes.
So my daughter, God bless her, we love her so much, Tori, she's so great. But she'll set like 6 alarms in the morning.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, my daughters do that too.
Yeah. And so it's like, 7:30, 7:35, 7:40, 7:45. So she knows that she can hit off or snooze or whatever. And I'm just thinking, why do you even want to play that game?
So I had a season of life, I cannot remember the year, but it was not that long, maybe within the last 10 years, where I went probably a year or two where I would snooze for an hour and 10 every morning. I would set my alarm early, and I knew that I had up until this time. So it'd be an hour. For some reason, it was this weird thing. I enjoyed doing it. Okay, so since you stole what I think is great advice, I'm going to give a second potential option, which is to make your ringtone so annoying and so loud that you don't want to hear it again. That could be another life hack.
Give us an example, Kyle. Yeah, like what? Like what would a song?
I don't know about a song.
Yeah, pick a song.
Okay.
It'd be anything girly for you.
Shoot, yeah, I don't know. I think you'd have to be
like Friday.
Yeah, what's that person who sang the song?
Something like that.
Something Black, Rebecca Black, Friday. Yeah, Friday be up there. It may be a show tune.
Yeah, show tune for you? That wouldn't do it for me.
No.
I'd lay there and be like, I love that show tune.
Yeah, let's keep this on. But I think that could be a good hack, right? Is put whatever the ringtone is or a song that's so annoying that it forces you to get up because you don't want to hear that ringtone again.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Good advice.
Yep.
And then number 2, number 2. What is the ultimate life hack for getting free food? What a question. What is the ultimate life hack for getting free food? You know what? I thought about this for 2 seconds before we started filming. And I thought the only ideas that I can come up with are all bad ideas.
Yeah. Good. Then share your best bad idea.
Well, for instance, like I would never do any of these things willingly because they're wrong. Right? Because I can't think of a life hack to get free food in an honest way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like how could you honestly get free food in an honest way?
I think an app would be an option. Do you ever do food apps? No?
No.
Okay, so for example, I have friends of mine who are big into like the McDonald's app. If they, I know that may not be everyone's forte, but Taco Bell, McDonald's, there's apps that allows you to get a lot of free food. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
All right.
That's one honest way you could do it.
All right, but that means you have to spend a bunch of money and then you get...
Sometimes it'll just be you go in there and it'll be like, with your order today, you get free French fries. So free food.
Okay. All right. So that is sort of a hack. Then.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Think of a way that you would say is a bad advice.
Okay.
We're kind of going there.
Yes. Well, let me tell you a story. When I was in the 80s, it was like mid 80s, and there was a really fancy restaurant in our area called the Brown Derby.
Okay.
And so we Jeff and I, my buddy, would go in and we'd sit down, and they'd bring us fresh bread, and we'd say we just want waters.
Okay.
And so they'd give us ice water, and then we would sit down and we would do the loaf of bread, eat bread and butter, and it was so good. It was just this massive piece of bread. And then they come over and they say, "What are you going to order?" They say, "Oh, we just want the bread."
There you go. That's a good life hack.
And then they go, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, we just want the bread." So they brought us over another loaf of bread. They're like, "Well, you have to order something." I'm like, "No, we don't. It's free. It's free bread. So can you please bring us more free bread?"
Yeah.
And we were sort of like, telling the waiter, like, I think you're obligated to bring us bread. So the waiter agrees. So he brings us more bread. So he literally waits on us. We go through like 3 whole loaves of bread and butter, like wonderful bread, drink the water, and then walk out without paying a dime.
Wow.
Now, we only did that like 3 times before the management somehow caught on, because apparently enough waiters complained. And then the 4th time we went in there, we sat down and they recognized us. And they said, there's a charge for bread.
Okay.
And they said it's like $4.95 or something.
If you're not getting
anything else. And I was like, oh, they caught on.
Gotcha.
But that was my life hack back
I gotta be honest, it's not a terrible concept when you consider the fact that there's a lot of restaurants out there that will almost fill you up before the food comes.
Right.
Like I think of like Texas Roadhouse is one.
Yeah.
Outback, or what's one place down?
Roadhouse. Longhorns.
Yes, Longhorn Steakhouse. That is great bread. Before you even get the food. So
yeah, a lot of Mexican restaurants do free chips and salsa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes my meal will arrive. I'm like, I'm halfway full before the food even got here. So, All right, that is a good life hack. I'm gonna go with a terrible advice. But I'll just say, I guess yours is kind of like...
Oh, mine's terrible.
Yeah.
I would never do that today.
Yes, it's bad advice. By
the way, that was before I was a Christian.
Oh, before.
So that was BC.
Yeah, mine, I would say, is terrible advice just for anybody, Christian or non-Christian, is just to put it all on a credit card.
Oh.
Pull out a credit card.
That's not free.
And then
ultimately, that's more expensive.
You're going to be paying for it.
Yeah.
7% interest on the long run. No, but for real, I'd say the apps...
Did you just say 7% interest?
Isn't that what it is? No, they're like 25%. Okay, sorry.
I was going to say like 7% is sales tax.
Yeah. Okay, so to just one thing about, whenever I use my credit card, I try to pay it off. And I think most people should try to, right?
Oh, you have to throw that in there?
Yes, because honestly, I didn't even know. How much are they usually? Is it 20%?
Well, it depends. I was just going to say, if you have a 7% interest on your credit card, that's a good card.
That's good. Okay.
I'd say hang on to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. All right. So yeah, get some apps. Actually, do you ever eat like McDonald's even for like breakfast or anything? You don't strike me as a fast food.
You know what's so funny is I will do McDonald's and I'm good for like a year.
Yeah.
And then it'll be literally a year later before I go through.
Yeah.
And it's almost always breakfast.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, but I do know that a couple years ago, because when I'll go with my friends to a golf outing, there's always McDonald's in town that we stop at. So I have the app, and it actually does have good deals. So there's my life hack.
All right.
Get the McDonald's app.
All right. Well, there you go.
All right.
Well, I'll tell you what, that was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
It was difficult to come up with those kinds of answers, right?
Yep.
And you know what else is difficult?
What's difficult?
The teachings about forgiveness and faith that we're about to unpack in Luke chapter number 17.
I'll just say you're doing a great job this week with the transitions.
Well, you know what?
These are really good.
I've taken all 3 of them because we're on the 3rd day.
Yeah.
So for the remainder of the week, I'm now announcing to our listeners, you're responsible for the next 2.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
That's difficult. You know what's difficult? What we're about to read.
No. I've already done that one.
All right, Luke 17, verses 1 through 6. The section here says it's Jesus talking about forgiveness and faith. It says in verse 1 in chapter 17, one day Jesus said to his disciples, there will always be temptations to sin, but what sorrow awaits the person who does the tempting? It would be better to be thrown into the sea with a millstone hung around your neck than to cause one of these little ones to fall into sin. So watch yourselves. If another believer sins, rebuke that person. Then if there is repentance, forgive. Even if that person wrongs you 7 times a day, and each time turns again and asks forgiveness, you must forgive. The apostle said to the Lord, show us how to increase our faith. The Lord answered, if you had faith, even as small as a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, may you be uprooted and thrown into the sea, and it would obey you. Ooh, man.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's
stopping there.
1 through 6. Yep.
Okay. So the dangerous prayer then is just that simple sentence, right? The apostle said to the Lord, show us how to increase our faith. And they said that, of course, in light of the really hard teaching.
Yes.
Now, you know what's so interesting? You and I live post-Jesus, right? I mean, you were 2,000 years post-Jesus. And so the concept of loving one another and loving your enemies is something that we've grown up with for generations.
Yeah.
And so it's not unusual. It's not mind-blowing to hear love your enemies. But isn't it odd and strange and almost mind-blowing to think about when Jesus said, a new commandment I give to you, love one another. It was a brand new thought, which is why Jesus often said, you've heard it said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but I say to you, love your enemies.
Yeah.
Forgive those that persecute you, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like this brand new thought. In the Old Testament, when you grew up, things were like pretty ruthless.
Yeah.
In fact, very ruthless. The world was so harsh. And even the standard, there was no government a lot of times necessarily. And so there's social law, there's the ability to take revenge, that you were within your right a lot of times. Think about the Wild Wild West.
Yeah.
Only worse than that, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like you were allowed to. It was justified, right? I remember watching a movie, an old Western, where somebody shot somebody down, and then everybody was standing around watching it, and he goes, you saw it, he provoked it, you saw it, and that was the only thing he needed, apparently, right? He's like, everybody here witnessed it, he provoked it, and I was like, oh, apparently that's okay, right? Killing somebody in the streets in the Wild Wild West is okay, because
as long as everybody saw it and can say,
yeah, everybody can say you were justified in what you're saying, right? So the idea that Jesus would come along in Luke chapter 17 right here and say, okay, ready for this? Somebody's going to offend you 7 times. And you have probably grown up either teaching, your parents or even your priest or your Pharisee, your local leader, has taught you to either hate them or to shun them or to excommunicate them or to even get revenge on them. But I'm here to tell you, you are to forgive them.
Yeah.
Even if they offend you 7 times every single day. Can you even imagine?
It's a revolutionary idea. And I think for me, another thing that stands out right before that, it talks about, he says, if another believer sins, rebuke that person. I don't know about you, but when you hear that word rebuke, it's not like a hot word, a lot of times like rebuke, you're kind of like, ooh. But the point it makes in this, in the notes here in this Bible here, it says Luke about 3 through 4, it says, to rebuke does not mean to point out every sin we see. It means to bring sin to a person's attention with the purpose of restoring that person's relationship with God and with fellow humans. So it says, when you feel you must rebuke another Christian for sin, check your attitudes before you speak. Do you love that person? Are you willing to forgive? Unless rebuke is tied to forgiveness, it will not help the sinning person. I love that. If it's not tied to forgiveness, it will not help the sinning person. So I think what he's saying is, if you're going to go rebuke somebody, it's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Even if you're receiving rebuke, it can be a good thing. But you have to really check your heart. If your goal is to find mutual reconciliation to eventually lead to forgiveness, if your goal is not that, then you're not going to help the person. Your heart's in the wrong place. I think that's great.
Yeah, and a lot of Christians miss this.
Yeah.
One of the worst stories that I've ever heard in my entire life, and I'm serious when I say this, it's one of the worst stories I've ever heard in my entire life. It was actually by one of our staff members. And she said that she grew up in a real conservative church, and conservative meaning like, they're all about rules and, focusing on these sort of legalistic kind of things. And she said that one time the pastor was standing by the door, and this was, and probably in the late 70s or something, right? Back when hippies and all those kinds of things. And this kid had walked into church, and he was coming to church, but he had long hair. Yeah. And the pastor said, boy, you're not coming to my church with that long hair. You turn around and go get a haircut. And when you get a haircut, then you're welcome to my church. I promise you, when I say I have a physical, visceral reaction just telling that story, right? So So, that guy's eternity, could be at stake. He could have walked away from God and everything else, right? The damage that causes, not only to that man's eternity, but also maybe all of his legacy and his generations. And I'm not saying God still can't reach that boy, but I am saying that I personally know hundreds of stories that have kept people away from God for years and sometimes even permanently, right? Because of things like that. And
well, and then that person, the pastor, might have referenced, it's a Proverbs about an open rebuke.
Yes.
But people take that out of context, right?
That's exactly, that was my point. Yep.
Rebuke you. I'm gonna, and it's like, no, if your heart is not, so sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Go finish.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I think that oftentimes people see the rebuke thing, and it does have a negative connotation because of the fact that it's been used as a justification for, unkind or ungodly or hurtful words that are said
and unproductive.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
So it's like rebuke. Think about the purpose of rebuke.
Yeah.
So the purpose of rebuke is directly tied to restoration.
Yeah.
Repentance, restoration, and everything else. So the purpose of rebuke is not for the sake of rebuke.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like to all the Christians who type in caps, it's like that's not the purpose of your platform.
Yeah.
The purpose of your platform is for the purpose for somebody else to be, to come to Christ. So I think of it about as effective as this. And I actually said this, literally, I just said this. So last Sunday, I actually had the privilege of going to the away Lions game. Okay. So we were in Green Bay. The Lions did not do very well.
No.
In fact, that part of the trip was pretty darn discouraging. However, the trip itself to Green Bay was pretty awesome. And as we were walking through Green Bay, and by the way, what a wonderful place to be. I just have to publicly say, wow, to the people of Green Bay. Just best stadium in the United States of America. Best people. I'm not kidding. Not even close in my mind.
Wow.
Just an unbelievable over-the-top experience. So good job, Green Bay. But anyway, doesn't make me like the team anymore.
No.
But good job, Green Bay. So anyway, as I'm walking through this whole big strip where all these people are shoulder to shoulder walking, there's the preacher on the microphone, or he's on a megaphone, right? And he's shouting things in the megaphone to people walking by on the streets. And the things that he's shouting, a lot of them are true things. They're true. But they're about as effective as, I'm trying to think of an illustration of the most ineffective thing in the world. Let me just say, fighting the tide with a pitchfork. It's about as effective as nailing Jell-O to a tree.
Yeah.
Right? That's literally how effective this guy was. And he's shouting into the microphone. And the things that he's saying are true, right? A lot of them. But I walked by and then I had my buddy Dave Wilson with me. And Dave Wilson goes, "Hey," he goes, "Aren't you want to go back there and join him?" And I said, "No, I want to go back there and say, hey, thanks, guy, for making all of us look like idiots."
100%.
Yeah, thanks for taking down all preachers a notch and making religion something to avoid.
Yeah.
And thank you for being the most ineffective person in the world and repel people. It's almost as if your goal isn't to have people know the truth. It's almost as if your goal is to repel people. Well, guess what? Ready for this transition? That's the same person who types in caps.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, no ifs, no ands, no buts. If you're a Christian who all you do is just scream truth on a platform, on a social media platform, I don't care where your heart is. It's about as effective as that guy on a microphone. I'm not kidding.
That's true.
Right? Because the number of people you persuade is, let me think, carry the 2, 0.
Yeah. Yeah. You think you're making an impact because you're speaking the truth, but it doesn't matter. It's the way it's like 1 Corinthians 13 where it says, if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love or don't have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal.
That's right.
That's literally it. It's your approaches. You can say the right things
in the wrong way,
at the wrong time, to the wrong people, at the wrong place. Okay. So what do you think about so before that, even he gets into this idea of, causing the little ones to stumble.
Yeah.
And it's sorrow awaits the person who does the tempting. It'd be better to be thrown into the sea with a millstone hung around your neck than to cause one of these little ones to fall into sin. So watch yourselves.
Yeah. Well, I preached on this a year ago. I should say we did, right? Across all the campuses. But yeah, we talked about how there seems to be this righteous indignation that Jesus has when it comes attached to children, especially, right?
Yeah.
And so for those who prey on children or cause children to sin or stumble or, because after all, think about all the times in the Bible where God talks about us having the faith of a child. Yeah. Right? He says our goal is to have the faith and innocence of a child. Yeah. Even to get into heaven, the requirement is childlike faith. Yeah. Right? So think about the innocence and the faith of a child. There seems to be this
protection almost,
protection, right? and a warning against those who take advantage of those who can't help themselves.
Yeah, I think it just shows obviously God's heart for young people, for sure, that they are the future, and also just the protection of them, not just in a physical way, but also this is a spiritual, that the things that you tempt them to do, and especially in our culture nowadays, there's so many temptations out there for young people. But also, I also think it's a possibility too, that idea of let me see here.
And by the way, a millstone is, do you know what that is?
Yeah, it's actually a little. Yeah, you want to talk about it? Does it have a little note in there?
No, go ahead, read your note.
Yeah, that actually has
the note would explain it better than I would.
Yeah, it's great. It says a hand mill is made of 2 circular stones used for grinding grain. The grinding of grain using concave stones with flat grinding pieces to depict the ancient art dating back. It says the stone commonly used was black. And let me see where we get to the point here. The hand mill was so important in the life of the people that it was illegal to take someone's millstone as a pledge against the payment of a debt, for this would deprive the family of the means of making flour for bread. These stones were heavy enough to kill a man when thrown on his head, as in the case of Abimelech and Judges. If tied to the neck, they were also heavy enough to drown a person in the sea. So there you go.
Yeah.
Jeez. That's
what. So Jesus says, ready for this? Better. Yeah. It would be better for you to put a millstone around your neck and jump into the sea than to offend one of these little ones.
Drowning.
And cause them to sin. So a millstone basically, I was going to say in a shortened version, it's a really, really heavy stone used to grind grain. Yeah. A lot of times it would have a hole in the middle because there'd be a string. So instead of rolling the stone, they would pull the string, and it would roll back and forth. Yeah. And it would separate the wheat from the chaff, and it would do all these different kinds of. It would grind, right, basically to make flour and things like this. So a millstone was a very useful thing, but very heavy. And And then,
he's talking about the little ones. What if it's a little one in your faith? It could be somebody who's a new believer. You mentioned earlier about the story about somebody walking into church and their hair being long. What if that person was open to the idea of Jesus for the first time, or maybe even recently accepted Christ in life? Then they come and they're told. So I think that we have to be very careful in how we handle, per what Jesus is saying, protecting those who are younger in general, but also younger in faith as well. Just protecting them, keeping an eye out for them, not tempting them more, helping to show them the truth in love. Yeah.
So it's no wonder why the disciples said, show us how to increase our faith. Because without the context, that may seem like a detached kind of a thought. But I think based on what we said earlier about the mentality of like forgiving somebody was a brand new thought, right? So Jesus is saying, forgive them every time. I would imagine that the disciples would be like, I don't even know how to do that. Yeah. Like how would a person ever do that? So then that's the dangerous prayer that they prayed. It's a prayer of surrender. It's like, okay, God, you're giving us a truth that we don't want to hear. You're giving us a truth that is extremely hard, for us to even accept or get around. Because after all, those who offend are, if you're going to use the word offend, that's seems like justifiable, and yet you're telling me to forgive this person. So in order to do that, increase my faith, because I don't know how to do that. And then Jesus, of course, responds and says, if you had faith even as small as a mustard seed, you would say to this mulberry tree, be uprooted and be thrown in the sea, and it would obey you. And so he says faith as small as a mustard seed. In other places he talks about it's the smallest of seeds. Have you ever seen a mustard seed?
No, not
so if you take like a sunflower seed, it seems like it's 3 to 4 to 5 times as big as a mustard seed. I mean, maybe even more. A mustard seed is so incredibly small. And he says, if you had faith as small as a mustard seed, it's interesting because it brings up that whole, I've mentioned this so many times before, but it brings up that whole idea of, it's not quantity of faith that Jesus is referring to, it's quality of faith, right? Because he says, right here, he's not saying you have to have more faith. He's saying you have to have a very small amount of true faith, right? So that's why one of my favorite sayings is, It's not the size of your faith that matters. It's the size of your God.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the quality of your faith that matters, not the quantity.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not the size of your faith that matters. Stop saying I need more faith, more faith, more faith. No, you just need some true faith.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember hearing about the mustard seed, that the thing that separates it is that it's alive and growing, even though which is odd to think that it's so small, but it's actually alive and growing. I think that faith, as long as your faith is alive and growing and not dead and decreasing or stagnant, and that's what really he's hoping for, like a faith. It could be small, like you're saying, but at the same time, as long as it's alive and growing. So that's powerful.
Yeah, and just a little bit of faith of saying, like, I believe in who God is. I believe 100% completely that God can give me the power to forgive.
Yep.
Right? For people who can't even imagine that, there's probably people listening right now who have a really hard time forgiving. Maybe even your spouse. You have a hard time forgiving your spouse. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're just angry at your spouse for something, and it's a continual, chronic kind of a thing. And you'd say, hey, will there ever be a day where I could live with complete forgiveness and I could move past this? Well, yeah, it takes a lot of work to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because faith is a choice, forgiveness is a choice. But there's also a process that we should go through to allow God to heal our hearts as well. But it is possible, and God, through the power of the Holy Spirit, is able to give you that power to live. There's a life destined for you. That is free of bitterness and hatred. It really is. It is possible. And if you have that kind of faith that God can do that for you, then that's how Jesus is responding. He's saying, just believe.
Yeah.
Because I can do it.
That's great.
So
great insight.
Hey, well, that's our time for today. And so hopefully we will see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in on the Bible Guys.